Hello everyone and welcome to All Things Watched. In this video we are going to talk about the brand new movie simply titled The Portrait, and this movie mainly starred Natalia Cordova-Buckley, Ryan Quentin and Virginia Madsen and Mark Paul Gosselaar, and that's pretty well, for the most part, all the main characters that are actually in this movie. And this movie is categorized as a horror slash mystery slash thriller, and was directed by Simon Ross and written by David Griffiths. And really, this is not normally the type of movie that I would actually rush into. Not really a movie that I would be necessarily thrilled to see, but given the amount of high praise that this movie has been getting online, I figured, what the heck, I might as well take a look and see how it goes. So essentially, the whole movie, it really revolves around two characters, Natalia's character Sophia and Ryan's character Alex. And so basically, at the very beginning of the movie opens up with a very violent scene. This is no big spoiler or anything like that. This is literally how the movie opens. The opening scene has a very violent scene where it seems to show, or appears like there's a female, basically it's, about to go through something really bad, whether it's a murder or an assault or some form of rape or something like that. It's a very terrifying scene and a very bad situation for this woman who is basically being attacked by this male and by this male character. So then we end up basically being introduced to Sophia and Alex, and we learned very early on that Alex has been in some form of accident, and I think it was a car accident, and it ends up leaving him in a very, in a very unique state of mind, so to speak. He doesn't talk anymore, so I don't know if that's because he actually can't talk, or if it's because he's so, traumatized that he refuses to talk, but either way, he's basically a mute. He still understands, he still hears, but he also has trouble remembering. He doesn't really have a whole lot of memories, so his wife Sophia is basically, trying to keep everything, trying to keep everything at bay, trying to keep both of their lives together. She's doing everything she can to help Alex, her husband, and she takes care of him. She helps him in whatever ways she can, and she's just a very supportive wife and a very supportive character for him in the movie. She literally takes care of him in whatever way that he needs. And the movie does a really good job at showing that Sophia has a lot of needs as well, but unfortunately she is lacking that support because of Alex and whatnot. So they end up moving into this house. So once we're introduced to the characters and we learn a little bit about their situation, like I said, with Alex being in his situation and Sophia sort of being the main form of support and all that good stuff, then we learn that they end up moving into this house, which has this really weird picture or portrait upstairs of a painting which actually ends up looking identical to Sophia's husband Alex, and that is essentially why the movie is called The Portrait. Now, stuff happens throughout the movie, but we don't really know 100% if stuff is really happening or if it was actually in Sophia's mind. And I think that's one thing that this movie does a really good job with, so hats off to the writing, I guess, is they wrote this movie in a way that actually really quite consistently really makes you wonder if what you're seeing is really happening, or is this all in Sophia's head, or for that matter, could it even potentially be in Alex's head? So they do a really good job at keeping that mystery element of the film, because there's times when it seems like it's a little supernatural. It seems like there's times when it appears like things are happening, but then really you notice, once Sophia sort of comes around in certain situations, it makes you wonder, did this really happen to Sophia? Or is she just imagining this? Is she hallucinating or something along that lines? But either way, the story always revolves around this portrait, and it sort of weirds her out a little bit, considering that the portrait looks like her husband. Once again, tapping into that, sort of reality slash delusion. Is it actually a portrait that looks like her husband, or is that just what Sophia sees? Because there is one really good scene in the movie that Sophia has with a character, and she basically asks the character, or basically mentions something to the character in the movie and tells the character how this portrait looks like her husband, but then the character responds by saying, does it? Does it really look like the character, or does it just have, or she says, does it look like your husband, or does it just have features that are similar to your husband? Because art is subjective, and different people see different things, which I thought was another great way that the writers were able to sort of make you once again question: does this painting actually look like her husband, Alex, or is it actually, or is it truly Alex, you know what I mean? So they do a really good job at keeping that mystery, and the writing, like I said, was done really well. And it's almost like a slow burner as well, because there doesn't really be a whole lot of stuff that happens, not in terms of like horror or thriller, like not a whole lot of that stuff happens really until you get pretty well over halfway through the movie. And then, like I said, even when the stuff starts to happen, they do it in a way which still makes you wonder, is it real or is it not real? And honestly, I really enjoyed that part of the movie. And honestly, considering I'm someone who's actually not a fan of horror, and I don't mean that I don't like horror movies, I just mean horror is not my favorite genre. Horror is not a movie that I would run out to see necessarily right away on opening day. I would much rather watch like a science fiction type thing or a comic book type thing, before horror. But I do occasionally watch the horror movie and go to support horror movies. And in this case, like I said, because of their amount of rave that the portrait was getting online, I was really interested and I wanted to check it out. And honestly, I really liked this movie. I thought the portrait was really, really good. I thought the performances were done very well. The standouts here were definitely Ryan Quentin and of course Natalia Cordova-Buckley. Both of their performances were absolutely spot on and absolutely flawless. Even the officers, the sheriffs, there's a couple officers and police officers in the movie. Also Mark Paul Gosselaar, he's in the movie. He portrays the character known as, I think they call him Brooks or something, Brooks, and he's I'm pretty sure from what I gathered he was basically like the landscaper that took care of the yard and stuff in the house that Sophia and Alex had just moved into. So he was basically like the landscaper, and he took care of all the landscaping and all the maintenance and yard maintenance and all that kind of stuff, and his performance was done really well. And so he has a really interesting relationship with Alex and with Sophia, and and how he sort of plays into it. He's kind of like the family himself and all that stuff. So I really thought all the performances were spot on. Absolutely loved all the cast. I don't think they could have cast anyone differently or made it any better in terms of the actors. I thought they all did great. And all in all, I really enjoyed the portrait. And if I had to give this movie a number, I would give the portrait a 70%, maybe even a 75%. Just because I thought it was so interesting and it was really refreshing to see something different. Now, maybe if you're watching this review, maybe you've seen this type of story 100 times, but for me, I thought it was pretty unique how they used the portrait and the whole idea of this painting and really dabbled with, is it real or is it delusional or an illusion? And so I really like that part of the movie. And so that's why I have no problem giving it a 70 or 75%. So with that being said, folks, that is my review for the portrait. Let me know down below if you've seen it, and if you'd like to tell me why or why not. If you like this video, click that subscribe button, and if you want to help us keep growing, like, share, comment, and all that good stuff. And that's pretty well all I got. So until the next video, take care.